A little snow coming down here in Orchard Park today. Happy to have you in the audience with us. Happy to go to our man at practice there inside the Ad Pro Sports Training Center. That's where Chris Brown, Bills insider from BuffaloBills.com, joins us. Chris, good afternoon. Thanks for coming on. So I know you're inside, but I noticed walking through the field house earlier today how they deliberately cool it off when they're getting ready for an outdoor game, don't they? It's cold. It's chilly in there today.
Yeah, they open the doors on the side of the field house to let the cold outdoor air in. So, yeah, they try to replicate the outdoor environment even though they are inside.
Okay.
I hate that.
Chris, you didn't know laughing. It's all business today. So let's get down to business with Chris Brown. The business of Myles Garrett. Watching a couple of Browns games over the last couple of days, I thought, oh, there's a guy we got to handle. How do the Bills deal with Myles Garrett? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd leave Deion Dawkins on an island for the whole game, for sure. I think they've got to chip that guy, maybe put the tight end over there, make that the strong side of the formation. So, yeah, I mean, the guy, he leads the AFC in sacks. He's only a half sack off the league lead, which is Shaquille Barrett down in Tampa Bay. So 10 sacks in 8 games, that's enough to get your attention. And I'm sure after they watch the film, he'll have even more of their attention this week. So, yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they put a tight end over there, chip it back over there, have DeMarco hit him on the way out on a route. So, yeah, he deserves extra attention for sure.
Do you think the offensive line's going to be is going to have Nsekhe at right tackle in time? He didn't play. He practiced yesterday. Took his obligatory day off yesterday. He seems to be back at it today.
Yeah, I mean, Ford was lining up with the first team again today, and he was not even on the injury report yesterday. So even though he's still got a big brace on his left elbow, he's a full participant here. So I wonder if they go back to the rotation that has been pretty much the norm for most of the season with the exception of last week's game.
That'll be interesting to watch. Myles Garrett's an issue, and the Bills, certainly Bills fans are well aware of the guy on the other side, right? For years, Olivier Vernon has had good games against the Bills, most of the time with Miami. He's someone you can't ignore up front either.
Right, but he's nicked up. He didn't practice yesterday. We'll have to see what his practice participation is here on Thursday. So going to have to see how he makes it through the week. If he does dress, is he full go? You know, is he 100% Olivier Vernon or just 80% Olivier Vernon? That could make a difference.
Let's talk about the quarterback issue. We had this Twitter poll coming out, and we were thinking, you come into this game, and so much was made out of the success Baker Mayfield had last year, and now he has not had. And it seems as though Josh Allen seems to hasn't had those games like Baker Mayfield had last year, but he seems to be on a steady incline of improvement, whereas Baker Mayfield seems to have taken a step back and had a sophomore slump.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Josh is incrementally pushing his game forward this season. His completion percentage is obviously up about 8% from where it was last year. He's right around 60%. And I remember saying back in training camp, if we get to the end of the season and Josh is somewhere between 58 to 60% completion percentage on the year, that's a step forward for him. May not be for other people, but for him, that would be a step forward. For Mayfield, it's gone the other way. He was about a 63 to 64% passer last year as a rookie, and he was about 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's upside down on touchdowns to interceptions. I think he's 7-12. And then you look at his completion percentage, it's just under 59%. And he was clearly one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the 2018 class coming out. So he has definitely taken a step back. Now, it's not all his fault. There is a catch rate issue with the Browns as a whole. They're down in the bottom third of the league in catch rate. Now, sometimes that's balls not being on the money, hurried throws not being accurate, but there's also been a share of drops on the part of the Browns receivers as well this season. I think they're in the top 6 or 7 in the league in terms of total drop passes this season.
With Chris Brown, he's on the sidelines at the Bills practice inside the Ad Pro Sports Training Center on this Thursday afternoon. Hey, Chris, we know that Josh Allen is buddies with Sam Darnold of the Jets, another member of the quarterback class of 2018. I've never heard him say anything about Baker Mayfield. Is there any connection between those two members of this quarterback class? And does Josh talk at all about, he's got Lamar Alexander in a couple of weeks, actually. Does he talk at all about going up against this group as Lamar Jackson Does he talk anything about going up against this group this year?
No, I think he's trying to downplay it on purpose. I think he realizes that the media and outside observers with respect to this game are going to focus on the quarterback matchup because they are two members of the quarterback class. And quite frankly, the Bills are going to take the full tour here of the 2018 class this year, as you mentioned. But no, I don't sense there's the same camaraderie with Mayfield as there is with Darnold. And to a certain extent, you can understand it. Darnold and Allen, both California guys. They both work with Jordan Palmer at the QB Summit in the offseason. So I think there was even a prior relationship prior to even entering the draft class that I think existed between those two guys. And I kind of get the sense that Darnold and Allen are kind of cut from the same cloth in terms of personality, where Mayfield is the outlier. You know, he's kind of the cocky, confident guy who's taking pictures in front of Rolls Royces with his shirt off next to a tiger, and that just doesn't really speak to who Josh Allen and Sam Darnold are.
It's a good point by you, Brown. Now let's talk about some of the weapons and how the Bills are going to deploy their defense against guys like Jarvis Landry and OBJ. How do you think the Bills secondary will deploy? I know that they'll change it up in the secondary. I made this assertion yesterday that you'll probably see Tre'Davious White on OBJ quite a bit, and you'll also see him get help from inside. You'll see him on Jarvis Landry. How do you think the Bills are going to view the two wide receivers for Cleveland, and how they're going to defend them?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if there's safety help over the top. I would anticipate that Tre'Davious White, who for the first time last week traveled and followed Terry McLaurin for Washington, their top receiver, is going to do the same this week against the Browns with OBJ. So it wouldn't shock me at all if Tre'Davious White travels with OBJ no matter where he lines up on the field. I think the Bills are certainly aware of it, talking to some of them in the locker room yesterday, that there's been a lot of talk this week in Cleveland about force-feeding Odell Beckham Jr. the football. He's averaging 8.3 targets per game this season, and while that may sound like a lot, it's a career low for him. And so I think they know they need to make a more concerted effort to get one of the best receivers in the game the football more often, or at least get him more looks at the football per game than the 8.3 that he's currently averaging. And Landry's a guy that they look for on third down, help them move the sticks. He's going to be operating out of the slot a good deal, so that means Taron Johnson. But is it only Taron Johnson, or do they go with a committee approach as they have done through the course of this season? You know, maybe some downs they put a bigger body on him, whether it's Dean Marlowe or Saran Neal, and then maybe in true cover situations, true passing downs, maybe they go with a shiftier, more quick area guy or short area quickness guy like Taron Johnson to handle Landry there. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they turn to, because there's a lot of pages in that nickel corner book that they could utilize in throwing different things at Jarvis Landry through the course of the game on Sunday.
Well, go ahead, Mike.
Kevin Johnson's been part of that, one of those pages, too. He was limited yesterday. They would need him, I would think, this Sunday if he's available, Chris.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they utilize him, and, you know, even on the outside, perhaps. You know, Levi Wallace has had some struggles of late, especially in some man cover calls. Kevin Johnson, I think most would agree, is a better man cover corner than Levi, who really excels in the zone calls and the zone schemes. So do they flip-flop those two based on what they're dialing up? It'd be interesting to see if they turn to that as an option, knowing the caliber of receivers they're going against this week.
I still think everything kind of revolves around OBJ, given his volatility. I think if he's not getting targeted, let alone throwing the football, or let alone making any catches, that could have that offense spiraling downward. If the atmosphere in Cleveland is such that they feel like they've got to force feed him the football, that plays right into the Buffalo Bills' hands, and just, you know, take the guy away and force him to beat you left-handed.
Well, I almost like it that they want to try to force feed Odell the football, because to me that means more opportunities for Tre'Davious White to make plays for the defense. He doesn't get a lot through the course of games in most cases. In fact, entering last week's game, guys, Tre'Davious White was leading the league in opponent passer rating. It was down around 20.3 opposing passers when they target Tre'Davious White's cover assignment. So if they want to force feed him the ball, I'm all for it because I think Trey would probably come up with a play or two that could swing the game.
Let me get you to another matchup, Chris. And that's what the Bills do with Cleveland's run game. Nick Chubb has been outstanding this year, and now they throw in Kareem Hunt. And let's face it, the Buffalo run defense has been challenged for about 2.5, 3 weeks now. What do they do there?
Well, they have the option of going with that split back look that we've seen each of the last 2 weeks from Philadelphia. Philadelphia used it with great success, including the 65-yard touchdown. And Washington ran the same exact play last week, and I think they got 10 to 12 yards on the play on a carry by Adrian Peterson, if memory serves. So knowing Kareem Hunt is in the fold now, Coach Kitchens earlier this week said, yes, Kareem Hunt will have a role for us offensively. He's been practicing with the team each of the last 2 weeks before officially, being active now. So I would anticipate that a player of his caliber will have a role. I think Kareem Hunt is very underrated as a pass receiver out of the backfield, even now, despite the success that he had in Kansas City earlier in his career. So wouldn't shock me if you let Nick Chubb continue to do his thing running the football and then utilize Kareem Hunt as a receiver out of the backfield this week.
All right. Hey, Chris, thanks for this. We appreciate it.
You got it, guys.